and welcome in. Today is a big day. Today is the first day we are discussing Star Wars Aftermath Empire's End by Chuck Wendig. If you're just finding the series and you want to know what I'm talking about, go ahead and click here, and it will take you to a playlist where we go through the first of the Aftermath books, a couple of chapters at a time, and if you click again, it'll take you to our playlist through the second book, Aftermath Life Debt. But with that, let's go ahead and discuss this third book. I am really excited. So I've said this earlier in the series, I like these books better as they go, right? I like Life Debt better than Aftermath, and I like Empire's End better than Life Debt. So I am really excited to finally get to Empire's End. There's so much in Empire's End that really plays into things that have happened in the last two books in ways that I can't necessarily say yet. So with that, let's kind of start with the crawl of sorts. What I like about this in the opening text is it basically points out that we have this four-way conflict now. There's the New Republic with Nora, with Rax, with Sloane. So basically you have your two big organizations. You have the New Republic and you have the Empire, but then you also have these kind of sub-factions where you have Nora, who's working separate from the New Republic, and you have Sloane, who's working separate from the Empire. And they're kind of going off in their own little thing. And then, of course, the last little bit of text there says that this is going to be the Empire's last stand. There's a little bit of fate involved with this book that we already know about. Obviously, by the time we get to episode 7, there is no Empire. We are on to the First Order, and it's set completely differently, and as far as we know, we don't see Rax or any Sloane or any of these other characters. Without spoiling too much, obviously, some stuff is going to go down with the Empire. It's just a matter of how that plays out and what that looks like. So then we get to the prelude to this book, which takes place on board the second Death Star. Palpatine has just found out that the shuttle carrying Luke Skywalker is going to the surface of the Sanctuary Moon. He calls Rax in to be like, hey, look, this is a big battle. We got a big battle coming up. Something's going to happen. I'm pretty sure that I'm Palpatine and I got this on lockdown and it's going to be fine. But I need you to go off and do the contingency plan, just in case. Because that way, if I don't win here, you will help me win later. I like this because, as you may remember, Nora fought in this battle. Nora actually was one of the ships that flew into the second Death Star. So this kind of shows that their fates were linked before they even really knew who each other was. I like that Palpatine knew this was the point of destiny. He talks so much about, prophecy and being able to tell the future, but he's also obviously not able to tell everything out piece by piece. So I thought that was interesting to see. I like that Palpatine knew at this point that Vader has already failed him, and in some ways it shows that Vader's trip back to being Anakin Skywalker has already begun. That as much as he became Anakin Skywalker at the point that he threw Palpatine over the edge, that Vader already let Luke land on the moon, and he could have stopped him sooner, and so that Palpatine's already aware of what is going to happen. This is the first mention of something called a Sentinel, and I will leave that at that. Some of you through other sources might know what a Sentinel is, but if we're reading this book as we go, I will not ruin that for you. And as I said, this mentions the contingency plan, which shows us that Palpatine prepared for the eventuality that he would lose on over Endor, which is interesting to me, because Palpatine is so full of himself and so sure that he's gonna win. But some of that confidence we now see comes from the fact that he knows he's gonna win one way or another. Chapter 1 takes us back to the planet of Terrace. Terrace, previously seen in this series and the 9th interlude in the Prime book, and it was one of the first times we saw the Acolytes of the Beyond. It was the guy buying Darth Vader's lightsaber, supposedly. Swift is there, or Crucial Swift is there looking for a bounty, and he's all like, I'm so good at being a bounty hunter, and he's like bribing somebody for information, and the person he's bribing is a friend of the person he's looking for. And he goes on about how people inherently just want to be selfish if you give them an excuse to be selfish. Everything with Swift is kind of an interesting thing because he's very correct and yet he's also very full of himself, so he's kind of always looking at things through this tainted lens. But I don't think he's wrong about that. I think, especially on a planet like that, in a society, or at least a corner of society like that, it's not even selfishness per se as much as it is survival. And the guy he was interrogating wanted to survive, and he was just looking for an excuse to be able to survive without being a terrible person. But of course, there's more going on than Swift realizes, and he swiftly finds himself captured by the Aftermath crew. There's a big theme during this discussion where they're interrogating him on the nature of justice versus revenge, and what exactly the difference is. Jazz herself likes revenge. She's questioning Nora on this. Nora seems very defensive, and Jazz is like, I'm not judging you. I like revenge. Revenge is a solid motive. You know how people are going to respond when it's revenge. I just think it's, better that we know that we're acting out of revenge than lying to ourselves when we're acting out of revenge, which is a very Jazz thing. I also feel like the nature of justice versus revenge is a very core idea to Star Wars, especially throughout the prequel trilogy. Anakin attacking the Sand People because his mother was killed. Obviously, the Sand People did kidnap his mother and did do horrible things to his mother and did cause his mother to die. But is what he did justice, or is what he did only revenge? And during this exchange between Nora and Jazz, Nora thinks to herself that is justice anything other than institutional revenge? And I think that's a very important question. I think it's a very important question for anyone to ask. And I think the difference is really where your heart's at. I think that if you're looking for justice, you are seeking something that helps others. And if you're looking for revenge, you're seeking something that helps you feel better. So if the Aftermath crew is out there trying to stop Sloane, because they think Sloane is the biggest evil in the galaxy, of course we know she isn't, that the true problem right now is Rax. But there's no way the Aftermath crew could know that right now. They can be out there to try to stop Sloane, and stopping Sloane is a good thing, because if they stop Sloane, they can stop the Empire, and they can, in stopping them, find justice for all these people who've been hurt. But the point is to bring comfort and rest to people who are hurt. But if they go after Sloane because Sloane turned Brenton, and Sloane attacked Chandrila, and Sloane did all of these other things, then it's to make themselves feel better. And the dangerous line there is that they are not mutually exclusive. You do not necessarily go for justice or for revenge. That it's possible to go for both. And that's where the danger is. That Nora could be seeking justice for the New Republic, and get justice for the New Republic by also seeking revenge for herself. I mean, even looking at how they got information from Swift, they do so by threatening Swift's mother, by saying Bones is right by Swift's mom, and that Bones is going to attack her. Based off of what we know about her, which is absolutely nothing, there's no reason to assume that she is someone who needs justice brought upon her, just because her son is this bounty hunter. Where's that line, I guess, is the question. But Nora's clearly on edge. The interrogation ends by Nora actually knocking Swift out by using his electro jabber, and they walk away. Of course, Swift isn't dead. I was not really sure when I was reading it if they knew that or not. I think Nora was just brutally knocking him unconscious, but I'm not entirely sure. But either way, Swift is able to get away. And doing this thing in this gruff, course way, they've actually created another enemy. I mean, maybe Swift never would have been an ally, but maybe there was a way to get information out of him in a way that didn't now make him want revenge on them. But then again, maybe this was the only way. After all, Jazz was a part of this. Jazz would know what the best recourse was, but Jazz is also, she already said she's cool with revenge, so it's one of those interesting things and how things could have gone a different way. Chapter 2. Right from the start of Chapter 2, we start hearing a lot about Jorgen fruit, and Jorgen fruit is something that's referenced a ton in the Clone Wars animated series, so that was kind of cool just to hear that get referenced somewhere. And it was a humorous scene because Leia now is like full pregnant, and Han is home with nothing to do but take care of full pregnant Leia. Leia actually refers to him as a smuggler with nothing to smuggle. Leia still has her politics. Luke is off doing what Luke is doing. He's off looking for Jedi artifacts, which I think is kind of cool that Luke gets a reference here. And if you actually look at the beginning of the book, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the opening of the book says, "To Luke S, wherever you are." Of course, this book came out in 2017, but before The Last Jedi came out, so we didn't technically know what Luke was up to at this point. I also like the dichotomy. Leia is referring to Ben who has not yet been named. But Leia's referring to their child as a little angel, and Han's referring to him as a little bandit, which of course is cute, but also pretty foreshadowing considering the whole light side, dark side nature of their son. But this chapter, Leia really starts thinking about the balance of service and family. She sees what Nora is doing, how Nora is trying to help the New Republic, how she's dealing with what her husband has gone through and what her son is going through, and how she's having to juggle all of that. And Leia's aware that she's going to have to start making these decisions very, very soon if she's not already making them, which of course is a major plot point for Leia in general, especially if you go back to Legends canon. It was always something that her character kind of had to struggle with. Her character never really stayed out of the political spotlight for very long, and we're going to see that while her story in the new canon is different and does follow a different path, that theme remains. Leia is also worried about their mission. She is also worried about Nora, but does ultimately trust Nora. That's all I really have for you guys this week, though. I apologize if I sound a little sick. I am very sick, so this might not have been the best video either. So I appreciate you guys getting through this video with me. I was just too excited to start this book. I didn't want to not keep going. That's really all I've got. Please leave a comment letting me know what you thought for next week. Read chapters 3, 4, and 5. And that is what we will discuss next week. If you're not already, please follow us on all of our socials. Join our Discord. It would be awesome to have you. And I will talk to you guys next week.